Josayet sarva karmani vidvan yuktaha samacharan.
Text 26. So as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness.
Am I reading? Yes. Prakriti hai kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasaha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate.
Niti Lakshana Mataji, could you please mute yourselves and you can chant it behind the muted mic. Thank you.
Text 27. The spirit so bewildered by the influence of false ego thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature.
Text 28. Tattva vid tu mahabaho guna karma vibhyagayaho guna gunesu vartanta iti matva na sajate.
One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, almighty armed, does not engage himself in the senses and the sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work in devotion and work for fruitive results.
29. Prakrter guna samuthaha sajante guna karmasu tan akritsna vidomandan kritsna vin na vichalayet.
Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them. Although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge.
6:13. Magi sarvani karmani sanyasyadhyatma chetasa nirasir nirmamo bhutha yudhyasva vidyata jvaraha.
Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your work unto me.
Oh my God. So do
you pay yourself? Meeta Mataji, could you please mute yourself?
You should sorry, Prabhuji, sorry.
That's all right. Thank you.
Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your work unto me with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight.
Text 31. I cannot see text 31. Thank you. Ye me matam idam nityam anutishtanti manavaha shadhavanto nasyanto muchyante tepi karmabhihi.
Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and follow this teaching faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of fruitive actions.
Text 32. Yetv etad abhyasyoyanto nanutishtanti me matam sarvajnana vimudhamstan vidhi nastan achetasaha.
But those who, out of envy, disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and ruined in their endeavors for perfection.
Text 33. Sadrsam chestate svasaya prakriter jnanavanapi prakritim yanti putani nigrahaha kim karisyati.
Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish?
34. Indriyas yendriyasyarte ragadvesau vyavastitau. Tayorna vasam agachet tau hi asya paripantinau.
There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion, because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization.
35. Shreyan svad harmo vigunaha parad harmat sv anushtitat. Svad harme nithanam sreya paradharmo bhayavahaha.
It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous.
Text 36. Arjuna uvacha ata kena prayuktoyam papam karati purusaha anichan api varsneya balat iva yojitaha.
Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force?
Text 37. Sri Bhagavan uvacha kama esa krodha esa rajoguna samudbhavaha mahasano mahapapma viti enam iha vairinam.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world.
Text 38. Tu me navriate vahni yata darsho malenacha yatol pe navroto garbhas tata tenedam avritam.
As fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of this lust.
Text 39. Avritam jnanam etena jnanino nitya vairina kama rupena kaunteya tispure nanalena cha.
Thus, the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire.
Text 40. Indriyani mano buddhir asyadishtanam uchyate etair vimohayati esa jnanam avritya dehinam.
The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders them.
Text 41. Tasmat vam indriyani adau ni mya bharatasrabha pampanam prajahi hi enam jnana vijnana nasanam.
Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, curb this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization.
Text 42. Indriyani parani ahur indriyebhyaha param manaha manastu parabuddhir yo buddheh paratastu saha.
The working senses are superior to dull matter, mind is higher than the senses, intelligence is still higher than the mind, and he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence.
643. Evam putyehe param buddha samsta vyatmanam atmana jahi satru mahabaho kama rupam durasadam.
Thus, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, Krishna consciousness, and thus, by spiritual strength, conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. That was a wonderful recitation. So today we are discussing text 40, and I'm going to open it up, and Sridham will lead us into the Sanskrit recitation of the verse, and then English and purport. So over to you, Sridham.
Indriyani mano buddhir.
Indriyani mano buddhir.
Asya dhishtanamuchyate.
Asya dhishtanamuchyate.
Etirvimohayati esha.
Etirvimohayati esha.
Jnanam avritya dehinam.
Jnanam avritya dehinam.
The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him.
Perfect. Just read the first paragraph, Sridham. I'll read the text.
The enemy has captured different strategic points in the body of the positions in the body of the conditioned soul, and therefore Lord Krishna is giving hints of those places, so that one who wants to conquer the enemy may know where he can be found. Mind is the center of all the activities of the senses, and thus, when we hear about the sense objects, the mind generally becomes a reservoir of all ideas of sense gratification. And as a result, the mind and the senses become the repositories of lust. Next, the intelligence department becomes the capital of such lustful propensities. The intelligence is the immediate next door neighbor of the spirit soul. Thus, the intelligence influences the spirit soul to acquire the false ego and identify itself with matter. And thus, with the mind and senses, the spirit soul becomes addicted to enjoying the material senses and mistakes this as true happiness. This false identification of the spirit soul is very nicely explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.84.13.
Yasyatma buddhir kunape tridhatuke swadhi kala drishtu bhoma ijadi yattirtha buddhi shalile nakarichit janesha bhijaneshu sava eva gokhara. A human being who identifies his body made of three elements with his self, who considers the byproducts of the body to be his kinsmen, who considers the land of the birth worshipable, and who goes to the place of pilgrimage simply to take bath rather than to meet men of transcendental knowledge. There is to be considered like an ass or a cow. I'll read the translation once again. The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Okay, so Hare Krishna everyone, welcome. Thank you for tuning in once again this evening for the chapter a day of Bhagavad Gita. Sorry, just 1 second.
Just being a yogi. And none of that impresses or inspires Parikshit Maharaj. Because a jnana, someone on the path of jnana, he
Hare Krishna. I think it might be a good idea if you like to best try to hear one talk at a time or a discussion. Otherwise, it might be quite difficult to absorb the class and Bhagavad Gita together, just as a suggestion. What we will be discussing now is the verse 40, and the theme of this verse is to know that the three seating places of lust are senses, mind, and intelligence. So we see from this particular verse, there are some really key points Srila Prabhupada makes in the purports, which I wanted to highlight. And one of them is that what are the repositories of lust? Could somebody Google the word repositories for me and tell us the meaning and where does it come from? If you have your phone or your laptop handy, just try to find out the definition of the exact definition of the word of repositories. Anybody?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Jyoti Mataji.
It's a place where or receptacle in which things are or may be stored.
Correct. So it is a bit like a hard drive. And so the hard drive for lust is the mind and the senses. That is where the lust in terms of those desires get manifest in the mind. And then through the senses, it is acted after it's been, channeled through the mind, which is very subtle. And mind as a center of all the sense activities is the reservoir of the ideas of sense gratification, you see. So the mind has primarily two major activities, which is, well, three: thinking, feeling, and what was the third one? Thinking, feeling, willing. Correct. Thank you so much, Mataji. So based on that, there are desires which are coming in our mind. And at least I can speak for myself. A lot of time they are material desires and not so much spiritual desires. So it's very important for us to be in the right frame of mind. It is very important for us to be Krishna conscious, because when we are Krishna conscious, then all those desires, even though it may be very difficult for us to control, but sometimes the material desires do come up. But if one is somehow or other taken shelter of a spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada and his teachings, then there is every hope of us not getting carried away. Like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that even the senses are so strong that even if one of the senses is attracted towards the sense object, it can carry away the mind, even of a steady sage, you see. That's how strong these senses are. That is why the Lord Krishna has two ways of one, benedicting the living entities, and second, to entangle the living entities who do not want to return back home or do not want to engage in devotional service. So one of those energies is called Mahamaya. Mahamaya, in other words, also means Durga. So Durga or Mahamaya has a role. It is, Prabhupada in one place says that she has a thankless task, because she's been asked to do what she doesn't want to do. That is why, what is the meaning of thankless? It means to do something which one does not really want to do it. That's what the meaning, the word means, to be thankless. So similarly, Durga Ma or Mother Durga, she doesn't want to entangle the living entity. However, because of the desire of the living entity, she works in a certain way that she will then entangle one in this material world. On the other hand, we have another energy of the Lord called Mahamaya. So Mahamaya is the energy of the Lord which helps inspire, empower, and encourage the living entity to come closer to Krishna. Like in the spiritual world, Mahamaya acts in very amazing ways to create wonderful pastimes of the Lord. One such example comes to my mind in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first very chapter, the Lord Krishna's appearance, and then the prayers in the second chapter, when the prayers are being offered to the Lord by the demigods. Just around towards the end of first chapter, beginning of second chapter, that it is mentioned that how Krishna, when Brahmaji went to pray to Lord Vishnu, that please kindly appear, and help save the world from the troubles which are being created by the demons like Kamsa. So Krishna told Brahma, he said, I will definitely appear. And then he asked all the devatas to appear there. So Prabhupada makes a very nice point in those verses in the purport. He says, Krishna tells Arjuna, to Brahma that I will appear. Then he invites Yogamaya and she tells us that you please go and make facilities and make arrangement for Balaram to be transferred from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. And that will be my brother Baladev who will appear. And he will then make further arrangements and make it everything nice. So Yogamaya has been engaged to carry on spiritual activities. So the point is that if our mind, coming back to where we were, if our mind is telling us that, okay, no, carry on watching things which are not conducive to spiritual life, anything, movies or material things, then we should understand or come to the conclusion that we are in actually grip of the material energy, Durga. But if the mind is telling us, no, let's not go out today, let's do some kirtan at home, let's chant a chapter of Bhagavad Gita, let's chant the holy name of the Lord, let's go to the temple and take darshan, let's try to serve the devotees in our community, let's try to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in helping expanding the Sankirtan movement. So if these kinds of desires are coming, that means our mind is then serving the Lord. So it is protected by the spiritual energy of the Lord. And then a third point Prabhupada makes, that the intelligence is the capital and the next door neighbor. I really like you. How many of you remember that line Prabhupada writes, that the intelligence is the next door neighbor? You remember in the purport? Anyone?
You mean in this proper Prabhuji?
Yes.
Yeah.
Could you quote us that exact line once again?
Exact line, not sure. Basically, he was saying that like,
if you go to the purport, have a look at the purport. Are you able to open it up, or do you have a Gita in front of you?
I can open Prabhuji.
Yeah, see if you can find that exact line. It's such a beautiful line. And read that line, a line before that and a line after that for us. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Have you found it, Prabhu?
Yeah, I'm just finding, Prabhu. I just opened it. Yeah.
Okay.
So you want me to read that line, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. A line before that, and that line, and then one line after that as well.
Okay. So next, the intelligence department becomes the capital of such lustful propensities. Intelligence is the immediate next door neighbor of the spirit soul. Lusty intelligence influences the spirit soul to acquire the false ego and identify itself with matter, and thus with the mind and senses.
Thank you, Venkat Prabhu. So you see, where does the intelligence? It is the next door neighbor. So that means through the intelligence, one is able to control the mind, whether he or she would like to serve the energy, the material energy of the Lord, which is going to take us away, or whether he or she would like to serve the Lord.
That is the difference. That is what the intelligence. That is why Krishna says in the 18th chapter to Arjuna, after almost concluding the entire message of Gita, he's saying, oh, my dear Arjuna, anyone who studies this sacred conversation of mine with you, he will worship me by his intelligence. So you see, the intelligence is very much used in worshiping the Lord. And it is situated, it's more subtle. The mind is subtle and intelligence is even more subtle. And through the intelligence, we can train the mind. That is the beauty of the Krishna consciousness. So because the intelligence influences the spirit soul, and how does it influence? The lusty intelligence influences the spirit soul to acquire the false ego and identify itself with the matter. And thus with the mind and senses, spirit soul becomes addicted to enjoying the material senses and mistakes this as true happiness. So what happens? The intelligence influences the spirit soul, which is actually, if you think of it, the spirit soul in itself is pure. It is Sachit Ananda Vigraha. It does not have any so-called natural material position. It has a natural spiritual position. But because of this intelligence, which is now contaminated and have become lusty, the spirit soul now acquires the false ego and thinks himself that, oh, I am this body. Oh, this person is the object of my enjoyment. Oh, this particular food is the object of my enjoyment. Oh, this particular clothing is the object of my enjoyment. So everything we see around that is because of that, our intelligence being now impure, we want to enjoy. That was the propensity of Ravana. You see, today is the auspicious day of Vijay Dashmi or Dashera. So on this day, Ravana was killed. So Ravana had this propensity to see everything around him as his ultimate object of his enjoyment, completely depriving Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's Param Parameshwar, who's Yogeshwar, who's Sarva, what is that verse in Bhagavad Gita? The peace formula verse. Can somebody remind me? I'm forgetting that verse. Where Krishna says that that I am the person, I am the supreme person, and all the sacrifices are offered to me, and all the demigods. What is that beautiful verse?
Is it Bhutarang Shabdaputam Sarva Maheswaram? Is that the one?
Yes. Tell us the whole verse, Palika Mataji.
Bhutarang Jagatapusham Sarva Loku
Maheshwaram.
Shuddha Sarva Bhutanam
Gyatva Mam Shantim Rachati. Can you give us an approximate?
Sorry.
Are you able to look up that verse, Mataji, and then let us know later on?
Yes, I will do that.
Thank you. Yeah, just let us know the English. So here, that's what happens, and then the spirit soul becomes addicted to enjoying the material senses, and then he thinks, wow, this is a true happiness. The living entity or the jiva, as my Guru Maharaj explains, comes out of the airport. He looks at this beautiful Coca-Cola ad, and he thinks that the happiness lies in Coca-Cola. And he opens the can of the Coca-Cola, and as he was opening and trying to bring it closer to his mouth, every atom in his body is telling, don't put it in, don't put it in, don't put it in. And the little jiva goes, gud, 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 gud. And then he thinks, wow, this is happiness. Let me just mute. We have few devotees who are unmuted today. 1 second. So that is how the jiva starts to think, okay, I can enjoy everything. However, like here we learn from Krishna in the 2nd chapter 68 verse, as enemies are curbed by superior force, similarly the senses can be curbed not by any human endeavor, but only by keeping them engaged in the service of the Lord. You see, all these senses, the ability to touch, the ability to hear, the ability to smell, the ability to see, all these different senses we have, they can be curbed by using it in Krishna's service. So one devotee at a time, give me an example. How can you curb the sense of ear or hearing?
You can hear the transcendental knowledge, or you can chant, or you can hear these classes.
Yeah, so you can hear the transcendental vibration, or you can hear the classes, you can hear Srila Prabhupada. Even reading Prabhupada books is as good as hearing. Okay, thank you so much, Palika Mataji. Another devotee, please tell me, how can you perfect the sense of seeing?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
You can, by seeing good in others.
Okay, that is still at the level of mode of goodness, but it definitely helps one to rise to Krishna consciousness. But more specifically, give me an example of how can you use the sense of seeing in a Krishna conscious way. Of course, that is a good preliminary stage to be able to see good in others, and then gradually fan the spark so that person can come to Krishna consciousness. But what are some of the direct ways of making the best use of the eyes?
By taking Krishna's darshan.
Absolutely. Who was that, Prabhuji?
Navnit Chor.
Oh, Navnit Chor Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Jai. Yes, by seeing the beautiful deities of Shri Radha Gokulananda. Shri Radha Gokulanand ki Jai. Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki Jai. Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai. So by seeing the beautiful deities in the temple, at your home, at the sacred places, that will bring the perfection of the eyes. And someone else tell me, how can we perfect our sense of smell?
Smelling
the garden offered to Krishna.
Yes, somebody else was saying something. Yes, go ahead. Smelling the garland, very good. What else?
Smelling the tulsi leaves offered to Krishna.
Yes, Venkat Prabhu. Kinjalka Mishra Tulsi. This is what the 4 Kumaras, when they went to the Vaikuntha Lok, they were able to smell this beautiful smell of the fragrance coming from the lotus feet of the Lord of Tulsi leaves. And through that, they perfected their sense of smelling. And that in itself brought them to the stage of reaching the personal realization which they never had of the Lord, actually. That's how amazing the sense of smell is. Now, someone else tell me the sense, how can we perfect the sense of speech?
Talking about the glories of the Lord.
Talking about the glories of the Lord. Very good. Somebody said chanting. What
Chanting.
else?
Chanting.
Okay, what else?
Taking prasad.
Taking prasad. Fantastic. That's my favorite pastime. Thank you, Mataji. What else? Anything else? Kirtan. Yeah, doing the bhajan, kirtan, reading Srila Prabhupada books out loud. That is what Krishna consciousness does. Just give me 1 second. Sorry, just give me 1 second. I'm on chat. Okay, so fantastic. Yes, so this is how we can engage these 5 senses. And then finally, Prabhupada is telling that the false identification manifested in various ways with the reference of Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, 84th chapter, 13th verse, that how identifying the body made of 3 elements with one's own self is like considering the byproducts of the body to be kingsmen. You know, we think, oh, this is my body, this is my wife, this is my son, and I'm the actual owner of these people. But that is, or considering the one's birthplace to be worshipable. All these things are on the level of bodily platform. And finally goes to the place of pilgrimage simply to take bath rather than meeting men of transcendental knowledge. So a person who then goes to pilgrimage just to take bath, you see, we like to go to Haridwar, absolutely great idea, you know, taking bath in the Ganges. She's so worshipable, Ganga Ma, and it's one of the limbs actually to perform devotional service. But if our intention is only to go there and take bath, without actually reading the glories of Ganga, without worshipping the Ganga, without thinking of the pastimes which took place in relation to the Lord in Haridwar, it won't really bring about a desired result. It will bring some sukriti. We will definitely collect some spiritual sukriti. But if we go there, or if we go to Vrindavan to hear from the Vaishnavas, then that is the perfection of our going to Vrindavan. It is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam that by taking bath in Ganga, maybe this life's, like our sins will be eradicated. But when we take bath in the holy river of the pastimes of the Lord Krishna coming from the pure devotee's mouth, then not only our sinful reactions are eradicated, but we make significant progress in our spiritual life and develop love for Krishna. And so don't take me wrong, it's highly recommended. Taking bath in Ganga is the best thing one can do. But one should also know that there is something even more higher, which is to take the association of the devotees, because those devotees are Ganga personified, in the sense they're carrying that same devotion of the Lord which Ganga carries in their heart, which they're carrying for Krishna actually. So in the mind, if the mind is engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, there is no chance of its being engaged in the lower propensities, as we discussed. Prabhupada gives a very good example. If a child is crying and he has something in his hand which is dangerous for him, say knife, like just snatching the knife away, you may be able to protect the child, but you may not be able to completely stop him from crying. You may have to give him a little toy or something to play with, which he's happy and safe with. So similarly, there is, we have to develop higher taste in order to give up that inferior taste. We are not Mayavadis that we completely say, neti, 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 I do not want this, I do not want this, I'm going to the forest, I'm happy. No, we are bhaktas who are practicing devotional service. We do not say we don't want, we say we want. We want Krishna Prasad, we want darshan of the Lord, we want the association of the devotees, we want to chant our rounds properly, we want to hear Krishna Katha. We only want. But why do we want? We want all of this so we can develop love for Krishna. Prabhupada says that any religion you take, as long as it's bringing you, letting you, helping you develop love for God, then it is a bona fide religion. Otherwise, it's bogus. So higher taste is the key in our life. And then lust is only the pervaded reflection of love of God, which is natural for every living entity. So you see, it's very natural sometimes of how we feel, but that should be love. But right now, coming in contact with the material nature, the same thing has become a lust. It is a pervaded reflection of the love of God, which is natural for every living entity. But if one is educated in Krishna consciousness from the very beginning, that natural love of God cannot deteriorate into lust. You see, when Srila Prabhupada was small, he used to go around his place where he used to live in near Ulta Danga Junction Road, that place. And there Prabhupada would have Rath Yatra like this children are having because of Prabhupada mercy. So from the very childhood, if one gets the upbringing like how Prabhupada got, or these children who are coming in Krishna consciousness are getting, then if they are then trained properly, then there is a very good chance, even though in this world it's becoming very, very difficult, but these impressions are so strong that one day it is these impressions will save us or bring us back on track, even if we go off track, at a young age. So finally, if therefore lust is transformed into love for the Supreme, or transformed into Krishna consciousness, or in other words, desiring everything for Krishna, then both lust and the vrat, which we talked about, can be spiritualized. An example is Hanuman, the great surveyor of Lord Ram, engaged his vrat upon his enemies for the satisfaction of the Lord. And therefore lust and vrat, when they are employed in Krishna consciousness, become our friends instead of our enemies. So this is exactly what happens when we take to Krishna consciousness. So I want to stop here. It's 8:30, and see if anybody has any comments or questions. And depending on comments or questions, there is a 7 or 8 minute video I want to play on Dashera. Rather than me speaking, repeating, we'll directly hear from this wonderful devotee who gives us a really nice meaning of Dashera and the festivals in India.
Hare Krishna, Dipanam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Paligam.
Just the translation of 5. Sorry,
yes, Palika Mataji, please. Yes.
Otarang Jagatabashang, Sharvalok Mahesharam,
Suridam Sarvabhutanam, Gyatva Mam Santim Rachati.
A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor of all and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pang of material miseries. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Beautiful. You see, that is the peace formula. We have to know that Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary of everyone, including us, demigods, everyone. And we should, whatever we do as is, like in the following verse, I think it's the same chapter, Yad Karosi, Yad Ashnasi, Tadashi, Yad. Krishna is saying, whatever you eat, whatever you give away, whatever austerities you perform, you do that as an offering to me, O son of Kunti. Surabhi Mataji is saying, thank you for the session. Practically, can Yogamaya and Mahamaya activities be balanced anytime? Well, Mataji, the idea of balancing is a very difficult one, but as long as we understand, we are trying to balance the prabhav or the impression of the material energy with spiritual energy is always a favorable situation. Not that we think, oh, I've done too much of chanting. Oh, I spent whole day in the temple. Oh, I've gone out for book distribution. Maybe now I should watch a movie, or I should do this, or I should do that. That's not what balancing is. The balancing act in real sense means, oh, did I spent whole day. I didn't really think of Krishna much today. I got to balance my day. Let me read a chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Let me chant my rounds. Let me take association of devotees. That is called the act of balancing, because right now we are completely imbalanced coming in the contact of the modes of material nature. Balancing in real sense really means slowly and gradually trying to increase our time and energy in channeling or getting closer to the transcendental vibration. That is what true balance means, actually, because there will always be enough stuff for us to do in this material world or to attract us. But the more Krishna conscious we becomes, the easier it is for us to keep that balance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Just one thing, I was reading this book on Shibram Maharaj's Chant More, and there's a chapter there where Maharaj is sort of describing what Krishna does through the whole day from early morning to night time, when they come. So because at different times of the day, he's with different devotees. Like early in the morning, he's with cowherd boys, and then in the evening, everybody sort of, so he said, it's good to contemplate on different, during the day, or that will help us to do chanting. Said, oh, Krishna is is taking the cowards with Krishna, and how Krishna is with the cowherd boys. What's he doing? Just think like that. What is Krishna is doing now? Then they come back in the evening. Now all the gopis and Mother Jashoda, they're all hankering to see the Lord, how they're feeling and how Krishna is responding. All these things, he said, if we spend some time during the day of all the activities Krishna does during the daytime, that will help us to purify our mind, and that also will help us to do more chanting. And the chanting will be, when we chant, we can think that, oh, Krishna is doing this, Krishna. So that way will help our mind to do our chanting nicely. So I really like that.
Definitely. Very nice. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing that. Mataji, again, Surabhi Mataji, is Yogamaya term pro-Krishna conscious and Mahamaya attachments? Mahamaya is called Durga. Yogamaya, supposedly more pure, is which goodness? So Yogamaya is actually pure goodness, Mataji.
Goddess, sorry.
Okay.
Mahamaya
Yoga is supposedly more pure as
Durga.
Sorry, could you rephrase your question just so that I understand correctly?
Mahamaya is called Durga. So Yogamaya is called which goddess?
Oh, that's a very nice question. So Yogamaya in itself is
supposed to be more pure. So
yeah. So she's actually called Yogamaya. I have not heard any other names for Yogamaya, because you see, she's the manifestation of the Haladini Shakti, the spiritual energy of the Lord. So she's in one sense the energy coming from Srimati Radharani. So, yeah, so she's in that sense, and she's regarded as Yogamaya. There are, in the spiritual world, she's called Yogamaya. So whereas Mahamaya has many names, Durga was given many names. In the second chapter of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, in that conversation between Devaki and Vasudev, and about Durga coming there are different names given there actually. Unless anybody else know anything more than that, please feel free to add.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay, great. So dear devotees, let's watch this wonderful video of this Prabhu, who's going to be telling us about Dashera. So give me 1 minute. I can share my screen. 1 second. 1 second. Okay, so let's hear about what Dashera. Today is Dashera. We'll hear from this Prabhuji what Dashera means.
So many festivals in India. At that time, the famous festival of Dashahara, Vijayadashmi, was being celebrated. So he asked me, why in India every month there is one festival? And what is this Dashahara festival?
Can you hear?
So what is this Dashahara festival? Let's see, what is this Dashahara festival? Dashahara. Dasha means 10, Hara means victory. So Dashahara means what? Lord Ram, he became victorious over 10-headed Ravana. Dashahara. Also Dashahara is called as Vijayadashmi. Dashmi is a Tithi, Vijay means victory. So Lord Ram became victorious on this Dashami day. Therefore it is called as a Vijayadashmi. So this Vijayadashmi is very, very famous festival. Not only in India, but many other countries like Japan, Java, Sumatra, Malaysia, Indonesia. Why? So let's see what are the reasons we celebrate Dashahara. And I explained to that Chinese friend why India there are so many festivals and why should we celebrate festival. Let's have understanding why to celebrate the festival. Because a human being always wants festival. Human being wants companies. So in Indian festivals are designed in such a way that they cover all the aspects: social life, emotional life, financial life, cultural life, devotional life. Every festival of India is connected to all those things. Correct? We want friends, we want good thoughts, good people, good food, good culture. So Indian festivals are designed in such a way that there is all-round development of the human beings. Not all of us can sit in one corner and read Vedanta. We need active engagement. So all the festivals in India, they include the development of the 64 arts. Let's take Dashahara festival. Now this Dashahara is celebrated all over India in different states. So let's see why we celebrate Dashahara. First I told, because Lord Ram, he became victorious over Ravana. Also, we celebrate this Navaratri for 9 days and 10th day we celebrate Dashahara. So in many parts of India like Bengal, South India, Karnataka, Mysore, 9 days there are festivals for Durga Devi. And then 10th day Durga Devi killed the demon called Mahishasura. 9 days there was a battle. All the demigods approached Durga. They were not able to kill this Mahishasura. So Durga Devi, she is a mother of all living entities. Out of compassion, she fought with Mahishasura, and on the 10th day, she killed Mahishasura. Sometimes people accuse in India there is no respect for the women. But if you see, for all the 9 days, all over the India, we worship Durga Devi with so much respect, so much festivity. It is not like a modern culture where you put women on the billboards. Indian culture has so much respect for women. So, and we can see in this Dashahara festival. Also, you see, we give the shami tree, the leaves of the shami tree, like this called as a gold or sona, and a sona dena. So why we give the Sona, this Shamitri? Because let's go to Mahabharata. Pandavas were sent in exile, 12 years in exile and 1 year incognito. So when they finished 12 years, they enter into the Virat kingdom. So they hid their all weapons in the Shamitri, in the border. And their incognito was finished. They again came back, they took the weapons. And at that time, the Kauravas attacked the Virat. And with those weapons, they defeated all the Kauravas. So therefore, we worship the Shamitri and distribute the leaves of the Shamitri as a gold. One more story comes in the Shastra. Why we give the Shamitris as a Sona? Because in old days there was a king called Raghu. In the Raghu kingdom, one place called Paitan, one guru was living, his name was Varatantu. And he had a disciple, Kausta. So when Kausta completed his education, every disciple is supposed to give some Guru Dakshana out of gratitude. So he asked what Guru Dakshana I can give. He said, I don't want anything. He said, no, but please tell me something I must give. He said, okay, give me 140 million gold coins because I have taught you 14 science. So he just wanted to test. And Kausta went to King Raghu. Raghu is a great ancestor of Maharaj Lord Ramchandra. Then at that time, King Raghu has given all his treasury to the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. He had nothing in his treasury. That was great King Raghu. He said, wait. He went to Indra. And Indra sent him to Kuvera. And then Kuvera did rain of gold coins. And it fell on the Shami tree, Apati tree. Kausta took and gave to the Guru. He only took 140 million. He returned remaining. Then King Raghu said, I don't want. Once I have given charity, I don't want charity back. Then what he did? He distributed all the coins in the Ayodhya to all the citizens. So therefore we distribute this, not gold coins, but the leaves of the Apati tree or Shami tree. In that, remembering that past time. So if you see the India's all festivals, very, very important. Also on the Dashara or Vijayadashmi is one of the 3.5 Muhurta, 3.5 Muhurta. Gudi Padwa, Akshay Tritiya, Vijayadashmi and half Muhurta is Padwa which comes in the Diwali. So therefore these Muhurtas are coming from Satya Yoga, very, very auspicious. And all Indian people, they take great advantage of all these Muhurtas. Now let's focus on Ramayana. Why we have so many festivals in India? You see, because we are undergoing a lot of struggle. Social struggle, financial struggle, emotional struggle, spiritual struggle, body level struggle, health level struggle. So what happens? When these festivals, we get a chance to connect to the higher consciousness, to reconnect to the God, to reconnect to our great spiritual culture of India. And therefore these festivals keep coming up, popping up, to remind us that connect to higher consciousness, connect to God, connect to Supreme. On the Dashmi day, Lord Ram, there was a final battle between Lord Ram and Ravana. Lord Ram took one arrow and hit, and Ravana's head was beheaded. Ravana was beheaded, but again, new head came. Again Lord Ram took, again head came. The heads were coming, like the anartha, the struggle. They keep coming. If you try to solve one problem, another problem will come. That is a material life. Everywhere you see there are different struggles. So we can learn so many great lessons from this incident on Vijayadashmi. So finally Lord Ram, on the advice of Bibhishana, he remembered that Agastya Rishi has given him mantra and one special arrow. Then Lord Ram took help of Bibhishan, took that arrow, chanted and mantra and finally hit. And he shooted at the root. Because Ravana had Amrita in his navel. So that arrow went and he completely absorbed all the Amrita. And Ravana collapsed. So when you hit at the root of the problem, then the real problem will be solved. If you try to solve the problem superficially, it won't work. So we can get the great lesson from Ramayana on this Vijayadashmi, that Lord Ram hit at the root. So similarly, when we get the solution at the root, all the problems, financial, economical, social, emotional, intellectual, will be solved. And that is by connecting to the God. And these Indian festivals give us chance to reconnect to the Supreme, reconnect to the higher dimension, higher consciousness, to reconnect to the good things, good culture, good practice, truthfulness, honesty, integrity, harmony, love. And so how can we celebrate Vijayadashmi? On Vijayadashmi, also there is a Vidyarambha. And the children in Gurukula, they start getting Vidya. They will write on the rice with auspicious markings, kumkum, haldi. So what we can do? We can worship the Bhagavatam, we can worship Ramayana, we can decorate our house, worship the deity, chant the holy name, do satsang, kirtan, give donation according to your capacity, respect elder, respect parent, again respect to the cows, respect to the farm, because harvest season will start after Dashara. So in India, every festival is connected to the farming, Krishi Goraksha. So we can also do Go Puja on this day, because India is Krishi Pradhan Desh. So therefore, this is a great science behind all Indian festival. So how can we reconnect to God, or how can we best celebrate Dashara? Read Srimad Bhagavatam, because Srimad Bhagavatam has heritage of all the culture. All the Indian culture is based on Srimad Bhagavatam. All 64 arts are exhibited in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We can worship Srimad Bhagavatam. We can read Srimad Bhagavatam. We can recite Srimad Bhagavatam. We can discuss on Srimad Bhagavatam and gather together, chant the shlokas of Srimad Bhagavatam. And for the welfare of entire humanity, let's gather on this Dashara day or every day and chant the most important tool to reconnect to the God, that is the holy name of the God. That is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I wish best fortune for everybody on this Vijayadashmi day. Let's conquer the anarthas, let's conquer the demonic mentality in our heart, and let's give chance to the good mentality, good being in our heart by celebrating Dashara. Best of luck. Hare Krishna, Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Very nice. Would you be able to post it in our group, please?
Sure, Mataji.
Yeah.
So I hope that was, I found it, this is what happens when you keep the YouTube on for a while. It takes you somewhere else immediately after Dashera. Great. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope you all were able to take away something from today's session, but more importantly from Madhav Prabhu, who shared us a wonderful 10-minute insight on what Dashera really is and how we can really imbibe the spirit of the festivals and why the festivals are celebrated and what is it in for us. That is the main thing, is to come closer to Krishna in every single festival. That's the idea. So, thank you, Mataji. So we will be organizing. I wanted to share with you a little bit early, but I thought, let me tell you, in November, we're going to be organizing a big Mahasangha for all of you, for the chat team to come together. And it will be hopefully in person at the temple, facilitated by the person who actually started the chat all over the world, His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu. He'll be with us next month. So I'll be inviting all of you. I'll let you know the date at least two to 3 weeks, or at least 2 weeks in advance. So you can all make your way to come and recite a chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Join us for bhajans in the month of Kartik, because my Guru Maharaj will be here for a couple of weeks in November. So it's a great opportunity for everyone to come together, recite a chapter in person, with Prabhu, with Maharaj, and he's been doing this all over the world. So many devotees are doing. So it'll be great to recite a chapter with him. So I'll let you know more information about that.
Is it open for everyone? Because
it is going to be specially.
I don't chant and all that. I just try to chant one round. That's it in the morning. I don't know much about.
Yes, Mataji, it'll be open. It'll be specially open for all of you who've been attending chat. First and foremost, it'll only be exclusively open for you guys. And of course, anybody else, or if you want to invite a friend who has not heard of chat, you will be welcome to do so. So I'll share more details with all of you.
Thank you.
Wow, that will be amazing.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Have a great evening, everybody. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhe vacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Prabhupada ki jai. Dashara ki jai. Lord Ramchandra ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for the wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.